everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be going over the truth about manifestation. So very excited to get into this video today. Now, if you guys are deep in the new age world and manifestation is all that you think about and believe in, and you think that it's the only way, maybe this video isn't going to be for you, or maybe it is. Maybe it's going to shed a little bit of a different perspective compared to what everybody else is trying to teach when it comes to manifestation. So as usual, you guys can take what resonates, leave behind what does not. These are just my own opinions based off of either my own experiences, observations, and all of these things. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So the truth about manifestation. So I do speak on this here and there on my lives. If you guys are just tuning into this channel for the first time, welcome. So I have spoken about this here and there, especially when you guys start to learn more about astrology. You guys are going to see that manifestation, at least the way that they paint it out to be, isn't necessarily the way that they are trying to display it and portray it. So currently the manifestation coaches and gurus and all of these individuals who are trying to teach you manifestation, well, first and foremost, I personally find this to be, first of all, a very new age concept, yes, but it's also very westernized, because a lot of manifestation techniques that people are trying to teach are usually rooted in some sort of material item. Now, I totally understand, obviously everybody wants to have a better life for themselves, but there are a lot of things here that are missing in this theory, a lot of gaps, if you will, because the thing is, if manifestation was 100% true, the way that they deliver it, it would apply to everybody worldwide. And unfortunately, it doesn't. We have third world countries, people who are in very, very dark situations around the world. I mean, even currently, there's always some sort of WAR that's taking place. So that's not something that these people, quote unquote, manifested into their lives. So right then and there, if you look at it from that perspective, it's not always something that you're doing or consciously doing. Sometimes things that take place are an energy that are being imposed onto people. So that's the first thing. The next thing in terms of manifestation is that they teach you to just visualize and create a vision board and picture it and think about it and say it this many times in a day and write it on a piece of paper in your journal, put it under your pillow, all of these things. And they're going to say the universe is a catalog that you can pick and choose from. But once again, very much westernized here. When we learn more about astrology, and especially if you start to kind of dig a little bit deeper here, and again, as usual, these are just my opinions and they're alleged, you start to see, especially if you're looking at it from more of a metaphysical perspective, that there is some sort of grid energetically that is taking place around the earth that kind of restricts people. To me, I call this the Saturnian grid. I find this earth plane to be very Saturnian. If anything, it's ruled by Saturn down here, again, in my own opinion, allegedly. So it's like some places are gridded more than others. You also can argue that sometimes this quote unquote grid that's created is based on the consciousness of the people there, but it's like who imposed these belief systems on these people that are living in certain areas. So certain areas within the world are more energetically gridded than others. It's harder to manifest quote unquote in those areas for those individuals. And there's always some sort of cap or at least limit, at least for the current reality and structure that we are living under, because a lot of people are either operated out of some sort of mind control. I mean, it's very easy to quote unquote mind control people, again, allegedly in my own opinion, because of the fact that we, especially these days, have a lot of access to social media, the internet. So humans are very, very visual, and in the mind, and this is why they're trying to bring through the whole like virtual reality stuff and for people to just kind of have headsets and sit in their room all day, because the mind, when it sees something online, it's not able to differentiate between the reality and what's actually happening in this physical plane. So that part of manifestation actually is true when they teach people to visualize and put it on their vision board and picture yourself there and feel into it. Yes, that's all true. But the thing is, with manifestation, you also have to pair the action along with the visualization. So the example that I give for this a lot of the time is going to be, everyone I'm sure is going to understand this, because everyone probably at some point in time has looked for some sort of job, unless of course you guys are under the age of 18, but you shouldn't even be watching these videos because these videos are for 18 plus anyway. So I'm not sure how you guys got onto this side of the internet. Anyways, with that being said, everyone at some point in time has tried to look for a job. Well, the thing is, most people, unless maybe you have Jupiter in Virgo or some sort of aspect taking place once again in your natal chart where you might be lucky when it comes to work, very rarely is a job going to come knocking on your door. Let's say you visualize it, let's say you picture it, very, very rarely. The thing is, there is a lag period down here on this earth plane. And again, my belief at this point in time, it might change in the future, but at this point in my journey, from everything that I have gathered, is that this lag period is because of the Saturnian structure, okay, that is operating around the earth plane. This is basically what astrology is operating under, okay? So basically down here under this current structure that we are living under, first of all, we have astrology, and it's great to learn astrology because what I always say is you want to try to transcend it. Usually the people who don't know their natal charts and they are the most unaware, they're usually the ones who are playing into their natal charts the most, people who have no idea about astrology. So you want to have some sort of awareness to see how can you operate outside of the structure. So the thing is, I think why manifestation resonates with a lot of people is because of the fact that in the higher realms and in the realms where we aren't energetically restricted how we are down here, well, in those higher realms, it is true. You can think something and it happens. But because of the fact that down here, a lot of things are operated through the lower chakras, okay, the lower chakra wounds. And again, if we connect this back to the Devil card in the tarot, and then again, that's going to connect back to Capricorn and then Saturn, always everything leads back to Saturn. And a lot of groups allegedly are worshiping Saturn because Saturn is Satan. Now, I know that might sound out there, so take some time to digest this information and obviously do your own research to see the conclusions that you guys come to. But it's like, even when you learn about astrology, you don't necessarily fully have free will. I have another video on that on here as well. You don't really, because again, if you look at the unconscious people who are completely unaware, they are playing out their natal charts the most. So if you're playing out your natal chart and an astrologer or whoever does astrology is able to look at your natal chart and tell you about your life and they're able to predict what happened, well, in that case, that's not free will then, because it's like, if you wanted to do something outside of that, why didn't you do that thing? Okay, so there is some sort of element here of, yes, mind control, some sort of energy perhaps being streamed into the consciousness, something of the sort is basically taking place. So with that being said, while you are under this energy, is really what it is, especially down here on this earth plane, and you are playing out these patterns and these themes, well, first of all, you don't have free will. And second of all, you don't really fully have that manifestation ability that most people are trying to teach or communicate about. Okay, this is really important to understand, because the thing is, it's easy for someone to teach you about manifestation who, let's say, was born into a wealthy family, and it's like everything, let's say, was given to them their entire lives, and then for them, it's like easy to think about something and it happens because there is no energetic barrier. So something that I have noticed is, like, you will see in people's natal charts, okay, or in your own natal charts, you will see usually wherever you guys have Saturn aspects taking place, you can kind of look at it as, and also your Saturn overall and the house that it's in, you will see overall where this energetic structure is energetically targeting you. Now, I'm not trying to put paranoia out there or fear. It's not this at all. You don't want to look at it in that perspective. It's just like, you can look at it as the point of contention or your soft spot or your wound. So that will kind of give you a hint that, you know, when everything is going great, wherever you have that Saturn aspect, especially if it's aspecting the personal placements more so I'm speaking about here, that's where this energetic structure is in one way, shape, or form going to create this point of contention for you. So that will give you one hint. So the question is now, how can you break free from this? I mean, it's going to take a lot of work, because you have to basically, first of all, know it, have the awareness, and then break free from this energy. But it's like, at the same time, we also have the transits. So it's like, it's really interesting to see, and it's really interesting to witness, because it's like, you guys will see, I mean, everyone can try for themselves. I'm sure that maybe some of you guys have manifested, quote unquote, certain things, but then there's other things that you don't necessarily receive. And that's the whole thing here. The question is, why are you not receiving those things if you're following all the same steps as, let's say, following something that is, quote unquote, easier to receive? Now, the thing is, here we can argue the whole concept of, yes, when you have something that's easier to receive, it's because it feels more possible in your mind. Like, there is that part of the story, absolutely. But again, this is the mind control that I'm speaking about. You have to break free from that bracket, is really what it is. I mean, something that we learn in economics overall, if you guys have ever taken an economics course, is that most of the time, the economic bracket that people incarnate into existing within, okay, within their families, it's very hard to up level from that, because it's like, you have to deprogram yourself, and you have to go through a lot of releasing of the energy, releasing of the conditioning to actually release that energy. And it's very similar in terms of how generational patterns play out, or traumas and all of these things, because they are so deep rooted. But again, you will see that within your natal chart. So it's like, it is a constant battle, absolutely. But again, when it comes to manifestation, you can't fully manifest whatever you want. Now we have the other hijack energy that's taking place here as well, where it's like energies get imposed on people. So it's like, when you hear stories of people talking about they manifested this in their life and they manifested that, and it's like, a lot of the time people are looking at that in a positive sense, but then you also have people using this terminology when it comes to negative things in their lives, especially these days with a lot of things circulating around the internet. People are going to say, oh, that person manifested that situation for themselves. And this is what I mean. If it's a negative situation, it's like you're kind of blaming the person to be like they kind of quote unquote manifested or like made that situation happen, but it's like it could be something to do with their unconscious programming. Or again, your answer is always going to be in your lower 3 chakras. This is why you have to master the lower chakra wounds, the root chakra, sacral chakra, and the solar plexus. Everything is taking place in here. And check out my videos on exploring the chakras. I have a playlist for that where you guys can kind of go through each of the chakras to see what's actually happening down here, because most of the collective is operating out of their lower chakra wounds. So once again, let's say when we look at people who are currently maybe living in a WAR, the question is, how do they quote unquote manifest that for themselves? Do you know what I mean? So there's definitely some holes here that are taking place. And as usual, my videos are here to spark thought. You guys can reflect on that for yourselves. I know it all sounds great. It sounds like a package dream, again, in the Western countries especially, where you're like, oh, I can manifest whatever I want. But it's like, you can't really. Maybe you have a little bit more of a range of manifesting compared to other countries where it might be a little bit more energetically gridded compared to here, but it's like there is still some sort of energetic grid regardless around this earth plane, where it's like you can't really, there's some sort of hijacking that's taking place here, and it's like it's not how it's taught. That's my whole thing here. The way they teach it, again, in terms of the visualization and writing it down and saying it to yourself and so on and so forth, because the thing is, the mind is so powerful, and most people, and as usual, I'm not a psychologist, that's another one of my disclaimers as well, most people say that your whole subconscious mind is already programmed by the time you are age 4. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you have to go deep in there and do deep work on yourself to actually clear the subconscious and unconscious programming. That's the biggest thing here. And it's like, it doesn't mean it's not possible to get to that level, but it's like it takes a lot of hard work and effort that most people aren't willing to do. So basically, the way the New Age teaches it, it's kind of like a band-aid solution. It's like 2 truths and a lie, just like everything, just like religion and all of these things. Like there's truth in it, absolutely, right? It's there, but it's like at the same time, there's a lie mixed in there that it's like, first of all, it's going to be so simple, it's going to be so easy, and it's not. And it's not like a one-size-fits-all type of situation, because again, different people have different backgrounds. It depends where they have come from in terms of their belief systems, their origins, and all of these things. They're all generational. So it's like you guys have to actually do more work and more exploration within the self to see what's actually going on. And a lot of people don't want to do that. Everybody wants to go for the quick fix solution, you know, the band-aid solution, which is unfortunately why a lot of these people are able to sell this dream. And it's like we're coming out of the age of Pisces, and there's a lot of dreams that have been sold to people, but it's like it doesn't really serve you to kind of believe in this fantasy when it's like that's not actually what is happening down here. We have to be a little bit more logical, and you kind of have to look at the bigger picture to see what is actually happening down here on this earth plane. And then it turns into some sort of distraction for people as well. Sometimes it's an avoidance of the path, because it's like also at the same time, when it comes to manifestation, a lot of things people try to manifest are absolutely rooted in their ego. Again, the lower 3 chakras, like I mentioned earlier, material things and all these things. And it's like at the end of the day, yes, everybody should be able to live comfortably, like that's there, but it's like if you're constantly chasing something that's more or greater or higher, the question is, why do you need to continuously chase something if you already got that thing to begin with? Do you know what I mean? So at that point in time, you're only feeding the ego, and it's like when you try to feed the ego, it's empty. But when you're more in your heart space, well, at that point in time, the vibration is different and the intention is different. It's more so of a gratitude energy, and it's like then you're kind of magnetizing things towards you that are actually in your highest good, and then it feels more fulfilling. Like it's a different frequency in terms of where people are operating at. But again, I understand most of the collective, once again, like I mentioned, is in their lower 3 chakras. Everybody is there to begin with, because that's just the way that the society is. But it's all about breaking free from these lower 3 chakras to actually go into the heart space and above, because that's the way that I see it too. Because this earth plane is very much about the lower 3 chakras. When I talk about the Saturnian grid, when you operate in these lower 3 chakras, it's like you're operating within the grid. For you to escape, quote unquote, the grid or operate outside of it, you actually have to go into the heart space and above. And I know a lot of people talk about this as well in terms of like frequency, and they show the diagrams and so on and so forth. If I find the one that I'm seeing in my mind's eye about the frequencies, I will put it here in the video. But it's like what I'm trying to get across here is like there's different layers and levels of awakening. So when you learn more about astrology and you see how astrology plays out, it brings in the question of free will, and it definitely makes the whole question around manifestation questionable, is really, really what it is. Because it's like if you're playing into your natal chart, which to some degree everybody is, well, at that point in time, you are not really able to have free will, because let's say you want to do something outside of that, Well, that's where the question then arises, is really what it is. So it's this, like, I find manifestation to be very Neptunian energetically, and this is what I mean in the higher vibrations. Yes, it is possible to think about something and have it happen. Down here, there is the lag period, first of all. And again, connected to Saturn. I'm going to connect everything back to Saturn because Saturn deals with time. Saturn deals with like dedication, effort, perseverance, hard work, all of these things. And it's like Saturn kind of slows everything down. That's the way that I see it. Neptune, even if we look at like the order of the planets, is actually after Saturn. So it's kind of like outside of Saturn. So that's why people who have a lot of Neptune in their charts, or 12th house, or even Pisces energy, they tend to struggle down here because in one way, shape, or form, they have this awareness of this energy, all of these things that I even spoke about in this video. Like, yes, they believe that manifestation is real and it exists, but it's like at the same time, we are energetically restricted down here at this point in time, at least, okay? It's like we need to have more people to have the awareness. And again, the only way you can have the awareness is actually to learn about what is going on in your natal chart, because it's going to give you clues and hints as to where you might be operating unconsciously or subconsciously, and what could be that point of contention for you, especially the Saturn aspects of the personal placements. It's really going to assist you, and then the work begins. And that's the thing. I've noticed that most people don't want to do the work. Again, they either want band-aid solutions or for somebody to do it for them. But it's like those things are all temporary. You guys will see. It's kind of like when people talk about when someone wins a lottery, for example, kind of get the initial high and they're excited, but then the energy kind of flattens out where it's like they go back to whatever their original state was before winning the lottery. So the answer isn't even in this, especially when we look at the material and all these things. You always have to look deeper and see what are you actually chasing. And the thing is, most of the time what you're chasing is an emotion, is really what it is, versus the actual thing. So let's say you are chasing the material, which is the majority of what people are looking for when they're starting to look toward manifestation. Well, if you are chasing the material and you're chasing a lot of money and all of these things, which is fine, but it's like you have to explore and be like, what is the emotion that you are actually looking for? Most of the time, it could be security, it could be safety, it could be freedom that you are seeking. So you guys kind of have to do the exploration to see what is the emotion here that you guys are looking for. And the other one, a lot of the time for people, is manifesting love. And that's a whole different video for a different day. Love and codependency and like the whole lower chakra energy connected to the way people perceive love currently, because most people I find are in attachment when it comes to relationships. So it's like when people are trying to quote unquote manifest love, sometimes they try to manifest the person. I mean, honestly, I know people who literally put someone's picture that they want on their manifestation board, and it's like it doesn't work this way, because it's like if you're trying to manifest quote unquote a specific person, you are now interfering with that person's free will. So this is what I mean, because there's other people's free will at play here as well. So it's not that simple when it comes to manifestation that you can have everything you want, okay, or even like specifically the person that you want. So I know sometimes people talk about manifestation and then they're like, okay, well then just try to manifest love. But here's the other part of the story also, okay? Here's the other part of the story too. I find that when you are trying to chase something, a lot of the time you're actually pushing that thing away. And this is going to be a little bit counterintuitive, but it's kind of what's happening energetically behind the scenes. It's like the example that I give a lot of the time to kind of explain this theory is that a lot of the time, you know, let's say you do live in a country where there is air accessible to you and it's clean air. You don't think about the air. Do you know what I mean? It's there. It's available to you. But it's like, let's say you live in a country where the air is polluted and it's like a struggle and all these things, is always on your mind, okay? Because it's not at the level that it should be, for example. So it's kind of like the scarcity energy that's connected to this. So it's like if you guys are trying to chase something, or if you guys are trying to chase a person or a situation, or let's say it is some sort of status or it's some sort of material thing, it's like indirectly you're actually quote unquote saying to the universe that you don't have that thing, is really what it is. And then there's the other part of the story too, where it's like you're trying to control. Like I think that a lot of this is rooted in people trying to control their outcomes down here on this earth plane by trying to quote unquote manifest their situation, or at least feel like they're in control. And again, you have to explore why that is as well. Why do you not feel in control? Okay, so did you always feel out of control when you were younger? Everything stems from the home and the original two caregivers, is really what it is. So it's all about exploring the self to see what it is that you want and why do you want that particular thing. And it's like, even if you want to receive it, it's like, what does it mean to you if you get it? That's kind of like even what I do when I'm exploring myself, okay? That's how I come to these conclusions too. It's like, okay, so let's say you get that thing that you want. Like, what does that mean for you now? First of all, ask yourself, why do you want it? But then when you get it, what does that mean? Really going through this exploration of the self to see why you want what you want and what is it going to change for you when you do get that particular thing. Because you might get the initial high, let's say, especially if it's coming from the lower three chakras, like you might get the initial high, but then you'll get over it, is really what it is. Sometimes it's like a new toy, you know, even kids are like this, you know, they get a new toy, they're excited with the toy, and then it's like, it's by the floor, you know, in like the next few weeks until, let's say, the parent buys a new toy and now there's like so many toys that the children aren't necessarily playing with anymore. So just like random examples here and there, just to spark thought as usual. But in a nutshell, it's really this. It's a lot deeper than people kind of make it out to be, and it's not as simple to quote unquote manifest whatever it is that you want. Maybe it's a little bit more simple in Western countries because certain things are more accessible to people in Western countries, such as like resources and jobs and all these things. Yes, that's there. But it's like even in the Western countries, then you might not fully be able to fully get what you want. So then that brings the question, why is really what it is. So you have to explore, and you have to do the exploration within the self to see what it is really what it is. And like, how did these thoughts and ideas and belief systems even get implanted? So I did give the example of like generational belief systems, but it could also be, let's say, programming through the TVs and the media and so on and so forth, because it's like we are constantly being bombarded, especially now that we have the phones in our hands. It's like we are constantly being bombarded. And I even heard once, and I really do wish I saved this video, but this was maybe 2-3 years ago, I heard once that within the digital universe, they already have versions of us in there. So it's like because of like the cameras on the phone and so on and so forth, they're able to analyze our micro expressions and all of these things. And like this digital version of you is literally able to predict what you want. I mean, that literally happened to me just yesterday. I was literally thinking of getting this purse, okay, for a while now from the store. And it's like, I went into the store and they didn't have like the color combination that I wanted. And I was like, okay, I should check online to see if they have it. And then I forgot about it. And then I had it pop up on my Instagram feed. It's things like this. I'm sure you guys have heard these things. It's deeper again, you know, about how they want everyone to be a consumer and so on and so forth. But it's like, again, do you even want the things you think you want? Like, this is the question. Or is it like, again, because of like how they are analyzing us through AI and so on and so forth, it's like these ideas are getting planted into our minds even more is really what it is. And like the whole point here, the whole point of this is like, then it kind of takes the soul off its path and what the soul is truly wanting to do down here on that soul level, and then you kind of get sucked into the reincarnation loop. Like, that's what I'm going to relate everything back to, and that's what Saturn is connected to as well. I believe Saturn is also connected to the reincarnation loop. Like, there's a gridded energy around the earth plane, because I don't think that the planets are physical. I think they are energetic like overlays around the earth plane. That's also a different video for a different day. I do believe I touched on that maybe also in one of my previous lives too, but it's really this is really what it is. It's like, it kind of sucks you in, and this is why, as usual, it's important to get in tune with the heart space. Like, I'm always going to relate everything back to that, because when you're in tune with your heart space and you're living for yourself energetically, and it's a different vibration, it's hard to explain because it's more so a feeling that you feel inside, because the heart space is also your intuition, and it's also your connection to God, source, and the creator. And that's the way that I see it, that kind of like once you complete whatever you want to, at least, or think you want to on that soul level, you will exit this realm. But it's like, up until that point in time, there's a lot of distractions down here. It's like shiny objects everywhere. You're like, oh, I want this, so I think I want this, so let me try that. Do you know what I mean? So people kind of get distracted, especially again when it's connected to the lower 3 chakras. And then there's also energy siphoning and energy binding, but again, I'm not going to put all that into this video today. I do have other videos from like back in the day where I spoke on that more, but it's this ultimately at the end of the day with manifestation. Ultimately, okay, in a nutshell, it's not the way that they teach it. It's not just about visualization and wanting that thing and thinking that you will get it just because you want it, okay? It's not this. You have to put the action along with the visualization. You have to put in the work to get that thing, absolutely, because again, we're under Saturn down here. And then also you want to see, what are your restrictions, what are your limitations, what was your upbringing like, what are your belief systems, because there's so much taking place, okay? There's a lot of belief systems. Sometimes it's religious, sometimes it's like ancestral, like I mentioned, sometimes it's cultural, sometimes, let's say you were born in a different country, then you come to the West. It's like all of these things you have to take into consideration. So it's not a one size fits all, is really what it is. And then on top of that, there's all the programming from TV, media, social media, and so on and so forth. So it's a matter of taking all of these energies off, but it's a lot of work. And like I mentioned earlier, most people don't want to do the work, but if you guys do want to do the work, I do believe that then at that point in time, when you clear all of these things off of you, you will only then be able to achieve the manifestation, quote unquote, that everybody speaks about. But up until that, it's like, it's going to work for different people to different degrees, because again, it depends on your belief systems, your upbringing, all of these things, and how much, again, you believe things to be possible for you. But it's like, again, you have to work on that, is really what it is. And again, you know, clues in the natal chart, absolutely, like there can be clues here that can give you guys a little bit more assistance. I personally find the Saturn aspect will give you guys huge clues as to where you have your point of contention when it comes to operating underneath the Saturnian structure. And like, you might even see then, you know, like the desire you have for that particular thing maybe you're trying to achieve could literally be maybe your Saturn placement, maybe the house that Saturn is in, or maybe Saturn is aspecting a personal placement, and then you'll see that, oh my gosh, like, you know, maybe there's something that you always thought you wanted, and now you see that it's actually playing out in your natal chart, and that Saturn is actually restricting you in exactly that same area. And again, it's not not so simple in terms of like you think it and it happens. Not at this point in time, at least when I am recording this video in 2025. Maybe this is going to change in the future if more people have the awareness and we break free from this energetic structure, but this is how it is for now, at least. So with all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here on manifestation and the truth about manifestation and all the different layers and things that we need to look at when it comes to manifestation. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I do hope you guys enjoyed my video. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.